So this is a lesson I gave recently to a guy who's an 8 handicap, so he's a pretty good player. He struggles with hitting the dreaded shanks though, and has some inconsistencies with strike. So what we've got here is we've got his original swing on the left, and then we've got some swing on the right here, which is sort of 10-15 minutes after doing some work to improve his technique. So first thing we have with him is he has a really strong grip, which is the reason why you see a lot of the swing characteristics he has. So he has this, whips the club really inside his hands, so he gets it really inside to start off with, and then gets it really steep, and then gets this face super shut at the top here. Now the main thing is here is just the lack of depth he creates in his backswing. So you can see here his hands are in the middle of where his feet are. Now this means when he starts down, as his body unwinds, because he's got no depth, his hands are going to go in this direction, which is going to get too far out in front of him. So we see him here come down and gets into this position here where his hands are way out in front of him too far. Now from here, there's only one way he's going to be able to hit the golf ball really, and that is he's going to have to suck his hands in this way, and unless he wants to hit it miles left over here, he's going to have to shallow this club, so he's going to have to get this club working underneath him better. So if we watch him here, if I get that line back on here, and you can see what he has to do. So you can see here he has this shallow move, so the club actually does get shallow, gets in a reasonably good position there, but you can see him now having to really suck his hands in. Now here, where he's not sucked his hands in enough, he's then caught the ball out the hosel, so that's what's causing the shanks here, is his hands are too far out in front of him, and he's not getting his hands back in enough. So what did we do to help him simplify things and to get the strike better and to get rid of those shanks? Is we put a stick on his shaft, as you see here. So this stick was just to help him keep connection, that takeaway, the first part of the backswing. So if we look at his backswing here, you can see he really whips it inside. So we wanted to get rid of that just to give him a bit more connection early on. Next thing was to give him some hand depth. So you can see here he's got a lot more depth. So his hands now are sort of behind his heels versus where we were before, where they're in the middle of his feet. And then in an ideal world, as he was to turn more, he'd then get this lead arm a little bit higher and get it covering that lead shoulder while still his hands having that depth and being behind his heels. Now from here, where his hands are deeper, he's able to just turn. So his hands can still move in this direction as they do from here. So his hands are still moving the same direction as he unwinds, but now he's got more depth, so he can just be a lot more simple, and it's a lot more easy for him to just get out into here. Now if we compare this to over this swing here, let's get him just sort of halfway down here. So if we put that line back here that we used to show how much he sucks his hands in, so this is the difference of where he's at now. So now you can see that his hands are sort of below his chin versus before they were right outside of his head sort of thing. So before he's having to, like we said, suck the club in, so his club's having to suck in towards him, whereas now his hands aren't having to do anything. He's not having to manipulate his hand path or anything to make contact with the ball, and it's just a really simple turn. So this gave him much more consistent strikes out the centre of the face. I wouldn't necessarily recommend hitting balls with this stick on the club. You'll end up with a big bruise up your side, but it was more of a feeling to really help him with his backswing, putting that stick there than anything. So it's a massive improvement. I think the next thing then we'd look at once he got good at this would be if we look at where his club head is. So his club head's really inside his hands. So this is going to encourage him to have to swing in to out on this path here, which is going to make the ball start out in a little bit right of target. This one wasn't too bad. Most of his shots were going out to the right once we made this change, but the big thing was his strike was so much better. So where before he had to really shallow the club, so he was really working hard to shallow it and suck his hands in, doesn't need to do that now, but he's still wanting to get the club a little bit underneath and behind him here. But as we get better at this move, and as he starts getting fed up of hitting it to the right, he'll start moving a lot better. And you can just see if we try and sync the two swings up together a little bit, we can see here now just how much more simple the movement is. This now looks complete. It looks great. Looks so much better. From here, he's just going to be able to play much more consistent golf and, yeah, get some better strikes and lose them dreaded S words.